I'm being serious.
What's up guys, due to popular request once again, today I thought I'd show you how you can make custom armor sets and custom weapons within Dark Souls 3. And in this tutorial, I'll be walking you guys through, step by step, exactly how you can make sets and weapons just like this for yourselves. And so, without any further ado, let's get right into the tutorial. Okay, so the first step is going to be to simply decide on which armor set or which weapon you'd like to make changes to. Now for this tutorial, you can see I've already made some changes to the Ring Knight armor set, as well as Lorian's greatsword. And so these are the changes that I'm going to be going over exactly how I made them in this video, and I'm going to walk you guys through step by step. And so you can feel free to follow along and make these changes for yourself, or you can make customization to a different armor set or a different weapon, as the possibilities are pretty much endless. And so if you can think of it, you can probably make that customization. And so once you've decided on which weapon or which armor set you want to make changes to, the next step is to locate the file associated with that weapon or armor set. In order to locate the files for whichever armor set or weapon you're wanting to make changes to, there are a few programs that you're going to need to ensure that you have first, and I'll leave the links to all of these programs in the description of this video. The first program that you're going to need is UXM, and what UXM is going to do is unpack all of the Dark Souls 3 game files, and then we are going to be able to access those files through the different folders that it creates. The next program we're going to need is Yapt, and the reason we need this program is because each weapon and each armor set is assigned a certain file number, and so we need a way to discern exactly which file number is associated with which item, and that's what Yapt is going to help us with. Lastly, you're going to need Yabber, and this program is basically a unpacker and repacker for files. And once you have all these three programs installed, you're ready to go. To start things off, you're going to need to unpack Dark Souls 3. In order to do that, you want to open up your File Explorer, then navigate down to your C drive or whichever drive you have Dark Souls 3 installed on, Program Files x86, then you want to go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Dark Souls 3, and then open up the game folder. Inside the game folder, you probably won't see all these extra folders here, unless if you've already unpacked Dark Souls 3, but you want to make a UXM folder right here and put UXM inside this area. You can see I've already done that, and I'm going to open up and then double click on UXM to launch it. And from here, what you're going to do is confirm that you have the correct executable path. And so you want it to end in Dark Souls 3.exe, that executable right there. And in order to do that, you want to hit on Browse, and you're just going to navigate to this exact folder here. Once you've confirmed that and opened that executable path, all you have to do is hit Unpack. Once your game has finished unpacking, you can then go ahead and close down UXM, and when you come back, you should see a bunch of folders have been created. Before we continue on looking through the game files, we're going to need to figure out exactly which file it is we're looking for. And in order to do that, we're going to use the program Yapt. Once you've opened up Yapt, you're going to come up to File, and you're going to hit Open. Then, in this dialog box here, you're going to navigate to that exact same Dark Souls 3 game folder, and you're going to select data0.bdt and hit Open. Then, once you've done that, you're going to come up to Edit, and you're going to go Import Names. Then, when this dialog box pops up here, you're going to hit Yes, and hopefully what that should do is load in all the different names of the different armor sets and weapons, as well as a bunch of other stuff that Yapt can be used for as well. On the left-hand side of the program, you're going to want to navigate down to Equip Param Protector or Equip Param Weapon. Now obviously Protector is going to be for armors, and Weapon is going to be for weapons. So first I'm going to start off by finding the Ring Knight armor set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into here, and I'm going to just search for it by Control F and find, and here you go, we can see we found the Ring Knight armor set. Then on the far right hand side of the program, you can see there's a whole bunch of information over here, and what we're looking for is model ID or equip model ID. Now down here you can see the model ID is right here, and it's 6350. Next up, we're going to look for Lorian's greatsword, and that's a weapon, so we're going to switch to Equip Param Weapon. Then I'm going to do the same thing, Control F. I'm just going to search for Lorian's greatsword. And right here you can see it's come up. And now we're looking for Equip Model ID. There we go, and it's 626. With these two numbers in mind, we can now come back to our folder where we've unpacked the Dark Souls 3 game files, and we can go into the parts folder. Now that you're inside of the parts folder, you won't see any of these extra folders here, as these are just armor sets and weapons that I've already made changes to. What you're going to be looking for is the file number associated with whichever item it is that you're looking for. So you're going to scroll down and you're going to see a whole bunch of different numbers, and remember, with our example, we're just looking for the numbers 626 for Lorian's greatsword. We'll start off with that. As you scroll through, you'll notice that there are different letters in front of each of these files. For example, here you can see we have BD_M, and then if we keep scrolling down, we have FG, then HD, and what these letters mean is they're letting us know what type of files these are. And the BD ones stand for body, and what they are the main chest piece of the armor set, and HD would be head, and so those are for helmets and hoods. And if we keep scrolling down, what we're looking for is WP. These files here, WP is for weapon. And so we're looking for our file of 626 for Lorian's greatsword under the weapon section. Finally, once you find the number for whichever item it is that you're trying to change in its respective category, you'll see that there are 2 files with the same number. In this case, I actually have 4 files with the same number, as I've already made changes to Lorian's greatsword. But for now, we'll just ignore these .bak files because you won't have them yet. At this point, you need to make a decision, and that is whether or not you want to change both of the files or just one. In order to decide if you want to make changes to both files or just one, I'll explain what each file does. This first file here, without the _L at the end, affects any items that are currently equipped on your character. So if your character has an armor set equipped or a weapon equipped, then this file will make changes to that. Whereas this other file down here with the _L at the end, this affects any items that other players are holding. So for example, if we want our Lorian's greatsword to only be green when we're holding it, then we would just adjust this file. However, if we also wanted other people to be holding the green Lorian's greatsword, then we would adjust this file as well. Regardless of whether you choose to do one or both of the files, the process is the exact same for each one. Once you've decided which files you're going to use, you're going to open up your third and final program, Yabber, and you're going to take your files and you're going to drag and drop them right onto Yabber. Then what Yabber is going to do is it's going to unpack them, and if you give it a second, it'll create a folder right back up at the top with those same numbers. So you can see I've already done that, and now we have 2 unpacked folders of Lorian's greatsword. Next up, we're going to locate the files for the Ring Knight armor set. Now here you can see we've found them under BD_M, and the number was 6350. Then you're just going to do the exact same thing. You're going to go ahead and drag that file and drop it right onto Yabber. Then give it a second, and you should see a folder appear right at the top, right with the other one. The next step is going to be to open up one of your folders, then go parts, and keep navigating through until you come across a .tpf file. Now, believe it or not, there's actually texture files within this thing, but we're going to need to unpack it first. So what you're going to do is drag and drop this file onto Yabber once again, and then you should see a folder pop up. And you're just going to do this for each of your items that you're wanting to make changes to. Just find that .tpf file and drag and drop it onto Yabber. Once you've unpacked all of your .tpf files, we can finally go ahead and open up this TPF folder, and we can start making some changes to our actual items. Inside of this TPF folder now, you should see a few different files, and the number of these files can range depending on which armor set or which weapon it is you're trying to edit. But you're going to want to head and just open up all of them just to have a look at what's offered with the thing that you're trying to edit. And you can open these files with any type of program that can open a .dds file, a DDS texture file. So a couple of programs that can do that are Photoshop and GIMP. GIMP is a free program, so you might want to use that. Or if you do have access to Photoshop, I would highly recommend using Photoshop. But like I said, any program that can open DDS files should work. If you are going to use Photoshop, there is a plugin that you should install, and I'll leave a link to installing that in the description of this video below. When you go to open up the files, you may have a dialog box like this pop up. If it asks you to load bitmaps, you're going to want to uncheck that, as we don't want to load bitmaps right now, but they are important, and I'll explain what they do later. I also have the options here to load alpha as channel instead of transparency, and to flip vertically, but I'm just going to leave those unchecked and I'm going to open the files normally. Once you have all the files open, you can go ahead and start to make changes to them now. But before you do, I would suggest that you go ahead and make a copy of all these original files just to have as a backup in case you ever want to revert back to the original. Now, each file that's associated with Lorian's greatsword actually serves a very specific purpose. And in this case, 2 of these files are actually controlling what I believe are the ways that the weapon is actually interacting with the lighting in the game. So that being said, you may not necessarily want to edit all the files for this sword. And this one over here is the main design of the sword, and this one obviously controls the color of the sword. By looking at this, it should be fairly obvious which ones are actually controlling the main design of the sword, or whichever item it is you're trying to change. So you can just get rid of the other ones that shouldn't have too much an effect on what it is that you're trying to change with the item. Now, in this case, I don't want to make any changes to the main design of Lorian's greatsword, so I don't need this file either. But for future reference, any file that ends in the _a right before the .dds at the end, these files generally control the main design of the item. So if you wanted to change the logo on a shield, for example, and put your own logo on there, you'd be probably looking for the _a file, and you'd want to edit that one. But in this case, like I said, we don't actually need this file either. In order to change the color of Lorian's greatsword, all I did was simply add a hue adjustment layer, and then I just adjusted the hue of this particular file. And it was the exact same process for the Ring Knight armor set. I simply went to this EM file, similar to what the Lorian's greatsword has, and I didn't use any of these other files. I didn't make any adjustments on there. I just used this one file, and I simply adjusted the hue. Once you've made all of your desired changes, it's time to save the file. For me, I'm going to come to File, Save As, on my computer. Then I'm going to make sure it's exporting as a DDS texture file. I'm going to hit Save, and then this extra dialog box is going to pop up with my plugin. Here, it's really important that you make sure the format is correct. So if you're exporting in GIMP or whatever program it is, you need to make sure that the format is as close as you can possibly get, or the same as this. So RGBA 128. And the reason this is important is because if you don't get this correct, it may take some playing around to make sure you get the correct one, but if it's incorrect, then you'll immediately notice that the files on the items that you changed do not look quite right. Their colors may be off, or they may look like they're at a lower resolution than the rest of the items in the game. The next option you need to confirm when exporting is your bitmap options. If you have the option to generate or create bitmaps, you need to make sure that's turned on. The game needs bitmaps in order to run correctly, as it needs lower quality versions of this original texture, so that when you get further away from an object, it gets lower in resolution, and it needs that in order to run properly. So you need to make sure Generate Bitmaps is turned on, whether that be in GIMP or whatever program you're using to export. Hopefully you have the option to turn on bitmaps. Lastly, once you're done that, you can go ahead and hit Save. As soon as all your files are done saving, all you need to do is simply drag and drop your newly edited files into the respective folder and replace the old original files. And once you've done that, you're just going to hit the back button, and you're going to take this folder, this TPF folder, and drag and drop it onto Yabber once again, and it should create a .bak file. So that is now repacked that folder with your newly edited files in it. And once that's done, you're going to back out again, all the way back to this main area of the parts folder. And once you've done that for all of the items that you want to do, you're going to highlight all those folders, and you're going to drag and drop all those guys onto Yabber, and it's going to repack each of them. Finally, you're going to back up one more time, and you're going to come back to our very first program here, UXM. You're going to open it up, and you're just going to hit Patch. And what that's going to do is it's going to apply all those changes that we made, and now you should have the updated items in the game. Okay, so hopefully all the changes you guys made were successful, and just keep in mind that there's a lot more you can do besides just changing the color. Like I said before, the possibilities for customization are pretty much endless. For example, I erased part of the texture of Lido's Great Hammer, so that it's invisible. And basically this allows me to see better, and that way this hammer isn't taking up so much of the screen. On top of that, you can also make your own designs for weapons and armor sets and change them up completely. With that being said, that's been it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.